Hello, core listeners, and welcome to a special edition of the show, a one-off where I discuss all things Gamescom, Cologne, Germany, and video games that might or might not be coming to your desktop or your handheld or your console someday soon. Some of it, I guess, is already out, but we'll talk about all of that. And I have joining me right now Tanner Goodman, who was there for like 3 weeks in Europe. Only a few days at the thing. How long do you stay at Gamescom itself?
We were in Cologne for 4 days, so Gamescom itself for 3.
Okay,
but
that's still it's a normal convention time. I would assume.
Yeah, and it went on because I think it starts on like a Tuesday. Whenever the opening night live is on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then it goes all the way through a Sunday. So it's almost like a week long like con. But I think 3 days was the sweet spot in terms of being able to see everything.
Sure. You've probably heard us mention Tanner's name a few times on the show. He's our intrepid guild leader and raid leader in our core guild, which is still a World of Warcraft thing. And he's also just been a longtime friend and a member of this community forever and ever. And he got this opportunity to go over there. There was some work involved, but then he got all this, visit and travel time stuff. And very curious about Gamescom for years because I don't fully understand its place in the gaming world. As it turns out, it's massive. The biggest convention in the world around games. But I feel like we're shielded from that a little bit over here. We were all we always felt like E3 was the thing and, everything else would pale in comparison. Sort of, had those American blinders on, I think, a little bit.
Right.
But man, these guys put on one hell of a show. Do you have any idea how many games you saw or played? I guess those are two different questions. How many games did you see, like up close and personal, walking around in a convention like that?
So the convention, I guess, just to put on scale, like if everybody has like a convention center in their city, pretty decent size, like Comic-Cons or whatever.
Yeah.
So if you take one of those and multiply it by 10, so Gamescom is actually 10 separate like convention centers, but it's all in one kind of complex. But it's 3 million square feet of like convention space. Like it's huge.
The rest of the year is what's going on in there when it's not a Gamescom? Is it just other industry things or?
Yeah, it's like they call it like the trade center or something. It's like a fairground, I guess is the wrong word because it's all just like this huge convention complex. But I imagine just various trade shows. But in terms of the actual halls themselves, I mean, they were massive, but each of the booths were also huge. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, in any given hall, there were probably 20 or something games, and then some were like sublet, I guess. Like there would be like a big publishing studio, and then that publishing studio would have 8 or 9 games in their booth area. But I mean, we walked past a whole bunch of them. There's a lot of lines for everything. So if you wanted to play anything, you're standing in a bunch of lines. But then in terms of actually playing stuff, there are maybe a dozen or so things that we were able to write down as we were watching opening night live and said, okay, that looks really cool. I'm going to go check that out.
Did you go to opening night live, like the actual presentation, Jeff Keighley, all that stuff, or were you not in that?
We didn't. So I tried to get tickets. So that was like a separate ticket, but you can get tickets and then it sold out almost immediately. So we said, okay, well, we'll just stay in London for a little bit longer before we go off to Cologne. And then the day before, or the morning of, they're like, we have some more tickets for sale. So I guess I could have gone, but no, we didn't go. So that was like a full evening thing. And I think probably what everybody saw at home was about the same experience as seeing it there, just being in an audience.
Right.
But yeah, so we watched it at home.
Okay. So that's curious to me that they do this huge presentation on a stage and it's English presenters, but this is a worldwide thing. It's being held in Germany. Is it just being translated everywhere? Is this the usual every year? Do you know that felt strangely English/American centric to have Keighley and his crew doing stuff and have it be broadcast in English? I suppose English is more universal of a language across the world than say German would be. But
yeah, I think
that's really weird to me.
Even being there, I think because most booths had English speaking people, and they would actually ask you, they would say English or German as they were like explaining whatever they had going on.
Oh,
so
interesting.
It was very English centric, and everybody, I mean, all over the world, people are going to this. And I think the one like common language that most people have is English. So it's just the easiest way to communicate.
So you have Polish developers, they're probably going to talk to you in English. You got guys from France, they're probably going to do it in English. That makes sense because, you know, I assume most of the audience is either industry trade folks who travel the world for this stuff anyway, which does seem to be pretty heavily Western, but also it's just Europe now, right? There's a lot of English. They're smarter than us. They know multiple languages is really what I'm getting at.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive. Walking around, and that's, I mean, traveling to any foreign country, you're kind of nervous about, okay, well, how am I going to communicate? They can tell right away that you have no idea what they're saying. That they just immediately default into English.
Yeah, that's wild. So let's get to the event itself and some of the games and stuff. We talked previously on just prior to the show about one of the games that's sort of hotly anticipated that maybe you didn't love so much. But let's start on the end of games that really blew your mind. And I don't know, are some of those already out? I know this thing crops up every year and shows some games off that are right then getting ready to come out, like within a day or a week or whatever, big new releases. Was there anything like that or anything that's far off where you were just like, oh man, I am so happy we got time with that particular game?
So there were a couple. One of them, World of Warcraft. I mean, we got their booth was insanely cool. They had their own stage with presentations.
How large was, if you had to guess, like from a BlizzCon perspective, how big was the stage?
Probably not as big as BlizzCon, but their entire like booth space was probably like a football field in length.
Dang.
Like just from one end to the other. And they built this giant tavern where all of the PCs to play the World of Warcraft housing was in.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to go. That was like the first thing that we did. I said, if we're going to do anything, it's going to be play WoW, play the player housing. And I went in with already high expectations, just based off of everything that they've shown and how customizable it can be. And it exceeded those expectations pretty drastically. Like the amount of freedom and creativity that you can have in the player housing was really remarkable. And like I said, exceeded my expectations. The amount of decor that you can have in the house, what you can do with the decor was really cool.
Is it this is kind of a deep dive sort of question about housing in particular, but is it a grid based thing where you've got kind of a it may even be a really granular grid, but basically you need to snap to some sort of invisible grid, or is everything just kind of wherever you want to put it?
So you can do both. So there's two modes. There's like a simple mode and then the advanced mode. And the simple mode, you have a grid, and I think you can actually rescale the grid to make it bigger or smaller and then place things on the corner of that grid. And then that comes with like being able to rotate things as well. And then the advanced mode ignores the grid, and you can put the item anywhere in space. Like it doesn't even have to attach to a wall or anything. You can
have floating. You can have floating table if you want to have in there.
Yeah, or upside down. You can rescale stuff, so you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want. So the advanced mode is really what I think kind of blew people away, and it was almost to the point. They have like there's this whole new hotkey system that they came up with. So when you're in like the housing editor mode, you have all your hotkeys change to be able to mess around with the mode. And they had like little cheat sheets next to everybody to like remind you how to do things. But it, we only had 15 minutes hands on with it, which isn't a whole lot of time, but it was almost overwhelming with the amount of like options. Like they said, here's all this stuff you can do and a blank canvas and have at it. It was fun to mess around with.
I'm really surprised by that level of freedom, because Blizzard and the WoW team tend to, in the past anyway, when they have a new feature like this to show off, even when it's kind of a cosmetic based thing, it's usually very gated by either reward systems that have to be worked out in quests or, running certain content or whatever, or it's time gated or something like that. And it feels like the philosophy here is a big switch from that to, nope, it's a canvas. It's your canvas. You draw on it however you want to with very little in-game costs. And so far, the commitment seems to be no out-of-game cost other than the expansion itself. That seems like a wildly different swing for them. And impressions have been so strong that I think it may, really work out for him. But did you get the impression that this was a kind of a drastic change in the way that they look at new content?
I think so. And you can tell, I've never met any of them before in person, but you could tell that they're all really excited about everything that they have coming up, and not just for housing, but for the expansion in general. Like the vibe, I guess, in the room, when developers are out there talking to them, you can tell that they're really excited. And I think with housing specifically, I don't know if they're afraid because they tried garrisons in the past and how terrible that was and how people hated it.
Yeah.
And, they bring up, we're going to do player housing. And the first thing that people immediately think of is garrisons. And they're like, okay, well, so I think they just pulled out all the stops and said, okay, well, here you go. Like this is what you want. And I think they took a lot of the best parts of various different games, housing systems.
Yeah. And a few of their own. From what I can tell, it seems like they've taken it further, and that's really interesting. I saw some video of Ian Hazzikostas on stage being more animated and smiling more than I've ever seen that dude smile. He's not a smiler guy. He's kind of really low to the ground. I did a thing on stage with him in 2018, and he felt like very reserved, very, matter of fact or whatever. And I don't know if this is just some continued training or they've had to have discussions about this, about outward presentation, or if it's just that he's this stoked, but I've never seen him this excited.
Yeah. And it wasn't just him. I mean, all of the developers that they had, cause I think the panels that they put on, there were only a handful of developers, but I mean, they had like the art team was there.
Yeah.
The story people, they were all there. And I mean, just everybody that you talk to, just seemed super excited.
Yeah, that's great. That's super great. I could tell that there's a different air around it. And, I think the only of a few players have shared with me their only concern about this new expansion is that the housing is going to take such center stage that they're a little worried that the rest of their game, meaning the player's idea of what their game is, not necessarily will suffer, but is not the focal point, and it will not be a expansion full of other systems that blow their minds. It'll just be this one aspect, and the rest of it will kind of be the pedestrian game that they're used to. Not that it's in a bad place right now. It's actually in a really great place. But did you get that sense at all? That housing's everything and everything else is going to take a back seat?
I think it's funny because when they did a lot of there's like a system deep dive panel that they usually always do at BlizzCon, but they did here. The messaging, by the way, just side tangent, for World of Warcraft specifically, was terrible. Like in terms of how they did it, because there was information coming from everywhere and nobody knew what was legitimate, what was not. Like the info release just in general was not great, because I think in the past, they've always had like a Blizzard master document that they've referenced and be like, here are all the systems, and then content creators or whoever else reference that from Blizzard themselves and report on that. Whereas this case, they relied almost entirely on content creators for releasing. And I don't follow everybody. I don't know who everybody is. So like being able to try and just find information was difficult. And they recognized that. They actually said there that they apologized. They were trying it out a little bit differently, and it kind of fell flat.
Didn't go the way they wanted. Yeah, I think part of the problem is a lot of the streamers / influencers they got to do this stuff, especially on site, are not known for this kind of WoW play. They're known for competitive dungeon running and world first stuff and this sort of thing, which is just not your casual, I'm going to go decorate my house crowd. Not that they can't get their heads around it or anything, but I just wonder if that's not the audience, and maybe that's hard to determine who's the best for that. I don't know. That's a tricky thing in these years, or in the stage we're at right now with influencers and streamer culture. Who do you even have do it, and get it right?
Yeah. And I think, them defaulting to have streamers or content creators do it, I think is fine. But what they didn't have was because I texted you and I said, hey, is Chris doing something here? Because
he was on something, right?
Before, yeah, because they first announced, they said, hey, immediately following this opening night live thing, we're going to have this deep dive interview with Chris and Ian and Maria and some other people.
Yeah.
That never happened.
No.
And then, so they showed the trailer, and then somewhere we had read, well, immediately after the trailer that they're showing, they're going to go into like the normal features video that they do. Well, that never showed up. You had to know to go look at their YouTube channel. I don't know. It was just kind of it seemed like a very last minute thing.
Yeah. In the case, it's funny because when you texted me and said, hey, Metzen's here for this thing. And I went, that doesn't sound right. So I texted him and I said, hey, dude, are you in Germany? And he goes, no, sir, I am not. I'm not there at all. Well, am I supposed to be? And I said, I don't know. You're at Blizzard. I have no idea what you know. But yeah, it turned out he was not there. And I think there was a bunch of that confusion. The thing people forget about with Blizzard, and this, you could say this about just any era of Blizzard, even at their highest point where, you didn't have Activision fiddling and all the changes there. And, pre that acquisition, certainly pre the Microsoft one, everybody just assumed that they are meticulous about every detail. And the truth is, about most gameplay things, they always have been. That's true. They're hardcore about a system, making sure it's right, canceling it outright if it's not working, that kind of stuff, right? But when it comes to like the PR and the events, they have all the money to throw at it, but they don't necessarily have those skills, like the organizational part of it, to pull that stuff off as well as people think they do. And you see BlizzCons and you go, oh, you seem to do a pretty good job there. Well, yeah, that's also an outside company. They contract that comes in and does most of it. Right. And then, it's not nearly the well-oiled machine that people think it is, and nor does it maybe even need to be. It's just, it's a weird thing. We hold them to a standard that it's a little weird that we do that to them.
Even their own messaging. So each booth, the Warcraft booth specifically, because they were one of the few companies, I think, that had like a stage presence, like a massive stage with one of the most insane lighting setups I've
like
ever
a presentation type stage sort of thing. Yeah.
They had pyrotechnics and smoke and lighting, but they had a schedule that they released. And even on their schedule, like they controlled that. So they controlled what they put on the schedule. And we would look at the schedule every morning and be like, okay, it would be cool to see this. I knew I wanted to go see the dev panels, which was Ian and what's his name? Paul something.
But I forgot his name.
I want to say Qubit.
He's great. He's done recent stuff with their video cast thing they do. He's very good. I like that guy. Can't think of his name though. Yeah,
it's Paul something. But anyway, they would stand up there, they would give the panel, and then there would be other panels that were on the schedule. Like there were a lot of community events, so people just up there streaming, and then there were some that would just be like fireside chat with Taliesin and Nevitel.
Oh, and yeah. It's great to see them up there.
On the schedule. Taliesin is one of the tallest people I've ever met.
He's very tall.
He's insanely tall.
And that's funny because people don't know this listening, but I'm 6'3". I think you're taller than me, or maybe right around what I am.
Also 6'3".
Okay, so you and I are 6'3". We are not short men, but Taliesin, you just assume he's just average height, and you walk up to the dude and you're like, what the frick?
Yeah, he had to crouch down for the photo.
Yeah. Oh, tall guy problems. But anyway, no, yeah. So it sounds like it was a little bit all over the place. And it's interesting because obviously you're going there as a big WoW fan. One of the most hardcore players that I know. You love the lore. You love the hardcore end of it. You like the casual end. Like Tanner's all WoW all the time in terms of the kind of fan you are. But obviously this is an event with all sorts of other stuff going on. Right. What is, outside of that experience, what is the most impressive thing you got your hands on, game or otherwise? Like what just you went there maybe with low expectations and walked away going, holy crap, this is going to be massive. Or did we even get one this year?
I think there were a couple, three immediately that stick out to me. One, Crimson Desert, which is the game from the Black Desert Online people, Pearl, the Korean
team, right? I forgot their name.
Yeah, Pearl Abyss, maybe.
That's it, I think. Developer. Yeah, this is one that Bo in particular, because he played a lot of Black Desert, famously on the show, bought some panties on there for some reason. Character.
I remember that.
He's very excited about that because he thinks the combat in that game is incredible and that some of that will translate here. How did that play? It looks amazing. Every time I see it, I get real excited. But how did it actually play?
It was fun. gorgeous. The game looks phenomenal. And we had, I think, almost an hour to play this one. So a lot of these booths that you sit down, it ranges from 15 minutes to over an hour that you get to play their demo. But so Crimson Desert was about an hour. They sat you down and put you into like this tutorial zone that they made specifically for Gamescom. And immediately off the bat, I said, this is a lot of buttons to remember, because it's a lot of like button combinations for combat.
Oh, see, that was my big question, because the MMO is very much like that. It's a kind of a nightmare. Sounds like they got that issue there. Is this, you play with controller or mouse keyboard? How'd you play it?
I played it with a controller.
Okay.
Because it was easier. But yeah, it was a bunch of button combinations. You also have like these Jedi mind powers that you can use, various magic, and then you like enchant equipment to be able to modify what kind of damage your attacks do. And it was like system after system that they're throwing at you in this little tutorial, and then they throw you into the story and you play through that. They have to have known it was complicated, because they had developers walking around and could tell like the areas where they needed to work on, because everyone would get stuck at the same spot, and they would come up, they would take the controller from you, they would like get through the little area really quick and then hand it back to you.
Yeah, of course.
And then afterwards,
it's not always a good sign. I realize they need to do that, especially before a game's out, but that's right. Sometimes that freaks me out. It's like, oh, if you're having, I'm a seasoned gamer pretty much. If you're telling me how to do a thing or making me walk through it, it's a little like me helping my mom set up her email. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. Yeah. And I talked to him afterwards. I said, I think the game was cool. The gameplay was fun. The boss that they had us fight was frustrating. They had, before you go in to play the booth, they had like this little chibi tutorial on how to kill this boss, because there's only one way to do it and it's not super clear. But you basically, there's these pillars in the room, and you get the boss to charge through a pillar to knock the pillar over, but then you had to stagger him long enough to be able to pick up the pillar with your Jedi powers and then hit him with it.
Yeah.
But he was never stunned long enough that you could do that. So this boss fight took 10 minutes. And it was just frustrating.
Jeez.
But I talked to him afterwards and I said, I think the game looks really cool. It plays a lot of fun, is really fun, but there are so many button combinations and different systems that are built in. And they're like, yeah, we recognize that now. They took us and they threw us right into the mid game, because they're like, this is what we think shows off the game the best, which is true. But also when you're trying to get people to play and understand was very difficult. So he assured me that when the game came out, that it would introduce them much slower, kind of like you're used to with an RPG.
Yeah, anything with systems that get rolled out at a pace that makes sense for the player, obviously that's going to feel better than getting thrown in the middle of it. It's a problem with demoing these things, because sometimes if you show them just the opening stuff, it's underwhelming. But you show them the stuff 10 hours in, you're like, oh my gosh, my mind is blown, but I don't know what I'm doing. That's a hard river to cross. I get it. Were there any booths outside of it? Sounds like what Blizzard did was rather impressive. But were there any booths where you're just like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they did that. That's a floating monkey with 14 chickens on it or whatever. Like, do they go crazy with that stuff there? Do they allow booths to just lose their minds and just fill the place with, insanity like that?
There were two that stick out. One, the Resident Evil booth. They basically took, is it Raccoon City? I don't play Resident Evil. Yeah. Raccoon City, and they had they built the front of it. So it was like this massive booth. Oh,
where the gate is and where you go into the police station and all that? Is that the...
Yeah, and there's like a smashed up taxi that was out front that was all rusted out. So that looked really cool.
That's awesome.
We tried to play Resident Evil multiple days, but the problem with that, I guess there were only 20 computers that they had, which is surprising for how big of a game this was.
Yeah.
The demo was an hour long. So we, one of the days, the first thing, as soon as it opened, we went straight there. Immediately a 4-hour wait.
Oh my gosh!
Okay, well,
we're
not gonna wait that long.
Yeah.
So the Resident Evil booth was really cool. The other one was a game that we did play, Reanimal, which is kind of like It Takes Two, but horror themed. The visuals on it are insanely cool. But yeah, it's a multiplayer game. But their booth, they had this giant, sheep head out front that was made of wool. And then as you got into the booth, it smelled like a barn. Like, I don't know, like Disneyland, they have those little like scent things that they pump out.
Sure.
I'm pretty sure that that's what they had because everybody kept commenting on it, but it smelled like damp hay or something. I don't know. It was very bizarre.
That is very weird. That would probably put you in a place though, wouldn't it?
It did. Yeah. And, you stand there and then they're like, okay, it's your turn. And you have to have a partner with you. So Alex and I went and played, and they have you walk through this like maze of, there's like burlap sacks hanging from the walls and you can't really see because there's smoke and it smells like hay.
Yeah.
And there's loud noises and lights, and then people are jumping out like a haunted house type thing. So, I mean, some of these companies go all out, and each of these booths gives away stuff. Like, I don't know, we actually had to buy a suitcase because of how much stuff we got just for free.
Goodness.
But like t-shirts and cups and stickers and magnets and pins and all sorts of things. But yeah, and then that's when it kind of dawned on me that this is the amount of money that each of these companies dumps in, because this is a huge marketing thing for them. And the amount of press that is around, because they're all the major, outlets and even minor outlets are there writing up on these stories. So this is just a huge marketing thing. So all that marketing budget just goes straight into Gamescom, which then to kind of tie it back into when you were asking about E3, I think this is a trade expo that just happens to be open to the public.
And given the size, it probably did it ever feel like overwhelmingly packed?
One of the days, the Saturday, I think, because we went Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
They sold out tickets Friday and Saturday, and in some of the areas where these big games were, like Resident Evil and like Silent Hill, kind of got this way. But there were so many people, and you couldn't move. You were just at the behest of the crowd, whichever way the crowd was moving. But I looked at numbers. I think they estimated 400,000 people a day went.
Damn. That's a lot, dude.
Yeah. Spread over, like I said, 10 convention halls and 3 million square feet. But I mean, still 500,000 people crammed into anywhere is a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a lot. Holy crap. I feel like the security was pretty good and that kind of stuff. Like you felt safe there.
They were. And I mean, one, not being in America kind of helped.
We got our own issues, but yeah. It just seems like with that many people, it just seems like a security nightmare. I don't know why.
Yeah, they had, because every morning, because it opened up at like 9, I think, 9 or 10. But you could get through the security and kind of line up for the line to get into another line to get in. Mm-hmm. But you had to walk through like gun detectors, kind of like metal detectors where you don't have to take anything out, that they're looking for weapons. But I mean, you had people walking around in full cosplay carrying swords and fake rifles and stuff. But no, it never felt unsafe.
What is the cosplay scene there? I know obviously it's not Dragon Con, but that's all it is. But that's not even true. But it's primarily Dragon Con and others are all about cosplay and creative cosplay. And I guess I never have heard much about that scene in Cologne. But was there a pretty good presence of certainly gamer cosplay type stuff?
Oh yeah, a lot of these booths, especially my husband plays Genshin Impact as his primary game, and Zenless Zone Zero, the gacha games.
Sure.
But especially those like gacha booths, like they pay people to professionally cosplay. So all these booths had professional cosplayers. The WoW booth had, I forget her name, but insane cosplayer, does this really cool Xalatath.
I saw her. Yeah, I don't know anything else about her except that she's always impressive.
Yeah. But so all these booths have professional cosplayers, and then there were a whole bunch of just random people just dressed up as whatever. Like one guy we stood in line with was just in a like German army outfit, like full kit, like carrying a backpack and bulletproof vest and everything. And
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's kind of awesome. So I know you've got a list of games that you played. And kind of a thumbs up or thumbs down on each one, or maybe a level of where you are at with the excitement. Let's just rip through those. I'm really curious about them. Before we do, though, Was there a presence with Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo explicitly having their own big spaces at this thing?
So
okay.
Sony, I don't remember seeing.
Okay, interesting.
They may have been there, but I don't remember. Xbox had a huge booth. It was massive. They were giving away, like some guy that was standing in front of us won like a 5080, just by, they're like, play Microsoft Flight Simulator and a handful of other things, and you can spin this big wheel and we'll give you stuff. But yeah, he won like a 5080. But they had, their booth was, they had a bunch of first party titles, and then the new Xbox handheld was there. They could let you play on.
How'd those look? Were you impressed, or kind of?
They looked like, really nice.
Yeah.
It was a lot bigger than I thought it would be, I guess, because the Steam Deck is pretty like chunky.
Yeah.
In terms of like girth, I guess, but
yeah.
The Xbox handheld looks a lot sleeker. The controllers look nicer on the sides and looked really nice. I didn't get to play on it, but I may pick one up because they look really cool.
Yeah, they do look cool. I hate to say it, but I'm pretty interested in that thing. I don't want to run Windows on it, though. I really don't. I kind of admit, because the ROG Ally Steam Deck, or the Steam OS one, is the exact same device without Xbox branding, and it runs Steam OS. I might prefer that. I don't know. I'm sick of Windows. Windows and I are not having a great time together right now. All right. Well, that's well and good. Let's talk about the games and what you thought of them. And you can start anywhere. Yep. What'd you like?
So we talked about Crimson Desert. I would say probably a thumbs up.
Okay.
If they can polish up some of the gameplay aspects. The Silent Hill F wasn't really we didn't get to play it, but they showed, I think it was gameplay, but it was like this immersive theater thing. I'm not normally a Silent Hill fan, but I would give that a thumbs up. Probably. I will probably pick it up.
Yeah, I think Silent Hill people those people are probably going to get exactly what they want. Those games are a very specific vibe. They terrify me, and I can barely touch them, but it is going to work for those who love it.
Yeah, it looked really, really cool.
Yeah.
Excited. There's another game. I've never heard of this company, but Honor of Kings World.
Oh, yeah.
Another kind of, I think they showed it off during opening night live, which is where we wrote it down from. But it's I'm assuming a gacha game because it looks very similar to like Genshin Impact. But while we were playing, this was another one that we played over an hour. Zero gacha mechanics that we could see, which is probably by design. I don't think they want you like going in, playing their demo, doing that. But some of the coolest actual gameplay. It was kind of like this Eastern style multiplayer RPG, like fantasy RPG. Really cool mechanics. I'm actually kind of excited for that.
So that one is interesting because Honor of Kings is this massively successful MOBA on phones, mostly mobile, not entirely mobile, but especially in Asia, it's just a monster hit over there. And Tencent is the publisher. It is absolutely massive. I think it has something in the range of, what did I read? 500 million players or some crazy number. Just insane numbers of people play that game. And they've done other stuff. They've had like, I want to say one of the segments of that animated thing on Prime, the video game secret level stuff. I think one of those was based on that. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, they have huge esports leagues and it's massive over there. So the fact that they're breaking out into something that's a little bit more mainstream, not a gotcha type mechanics heavy game, maybe still lots of characters to get to, but you're doing it in a more traditional way and you're not just buying a bunch of DLC and all that sort of stuff. I think that bodes really well for it. I'm excited about what we've seen. It sure looks nice. Give them that.
Yeah. It looks insanely pretty. We were playing it on PC. But yeah, looks really nice. The gameplay, the actual combat was a lot of fun. You're weaving in different like elemental abilities. It was cool. They have raids and dungeons, so you're pairing up with other people to complete these raids and dungeons. I went in with low expectations. I'm not huge on gacha games. He said Alex very much so. That's all he plays is Genshin. So that's why we got in line, because I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I think he may like it. And then we both fell in love with it.
Oh, that's great. I was curious what his take was given the changes, but it sounds like he'd be into it.
Yeah, it was that one. Is definitely going on a wish list for when that comes out.
Yeah, that game or that developer was famously in a big legal tussle with Riot because Riot had basically said, look, you just straight up took designs of characters and blatantly ripped off their abilities. This is intellectual property theft. And then they brought those concerns to Tencent because Tencent is a majority owner now in Riot. It's all very, very incestuous mess over there. But as far as I know, that all worked out. And so we'll see what they can do.
Funny side tangent about so I didn't know that Teamy, I think, is the studio.
Yeah,
I didn't know that the publisher was Tencent.
Teamy Studio? Yes, Teamy Studio Group, I think is the full name. But yeah.
Yeah. So they came up to me while we were in line. They were like, do you want a free cup? I'm like, yeah, I want a free cup. So like, okay, come over here. And they're like, have you heard of Teamy before? I'm like, no, I don't think so. And then they like pull out this like catalog of like all these games that they've made. It's a bunch of like Call of Duty Mobile, Age of Empires Mobile, a bunch of mobile games. I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard of those. They're like, do you play any? I'm like, well, I want the cup. So I lied. I'm like, yeah, I played Age of Empires Mobile.
Yeah.
So then they bring a studio camera and shove it in my face and then interview me about how much I love Age of Empires Mobile.
Oh, damn, dude.
And I'm like, okay. And yeah, so I got the cup, but I'm probably going to be using some marketing material.
Yeah, this game is it's the 2022 Age of Empires Return to Empire is what it was called. And did you know, I mean, you probably didn't know much about what the mobile game, you've certainly played Age of Empires, but
I played Age of Empires, which is what
proper
they're like, so why do you like it so much? And I'm like, well, because I played Age of Empires as a kid and it's really nostalgic to be able to have it on my phone. And they're like, well, what else do you like about it? And I'm like, well, I think it's cool that yeah, totally just.
Oh my gosh. It became a top 10 seller in China, that game. Age of Empires Return to Empire. Yeah, it's weird. It's so weird. The way this stuff works over there is just so different than what we do here. Okay, well, that's pretty wild. Are you on? So wait, so if I tune into some TV thing or go to Tencent's website, I'm going to see Tanner getting interviewed or something?
Maybe. I'd actually like to find it to see how uncomfortable I look. It's not even like, I mean, it was a nice cup. It's like this glass cup.
Yeah.
Like a tumbler style, but it's like solid glass.
You're able to bring it home?
Cup.
Like
we brought it home. So
that's awesome.
This cup that I'm never going to use.
That's great, dude. I love that story. What else you got that you thought was rad?
Valor Mortis. I went in with expectations of this game. So this was also shown off, I believe, during opening night live, but it's basically a Souls-like kind of Elden Ring, but set in like the French Revolution or heavily inspired by the French Revolution. So there's a character named Napoleon, and that's really all I know about it because it's very cryptic in like the Elden Ring storytelling where it doesn't tell you a whole lot.
It's very over the top, that thing. It's they showed it at Games Fest or what's it called? Summerfest. And I came away going, whoa, that is either amazing or terrible. Like I couldn't decide because I could tell they were really going for a certain vibe and a lot of mutated, like the imagery is crazy. It's like, well, here's a guy that looks like Napoleon all dressed to the nines, but one of his arms is like an octopus and his face is like all messed up and whatever, you know. It's
very, very Souls-like in that. What sets this game apart, though, I think, is it is a first-person Souls-like game.
Yeah. Is it a shooter? Remind me, or melee primary, or I can't remember.
A little bit of. So you do have at least what we unlocked. You had like a revolver in one hand and then a sword in the other.
Gotcha.
So it's a little bit of both, I guess, kind of like Elden Ring was. You could do ranged and melee, but primarily melee. The combat was fun. The combat was challenging. The first boss that they throw you up against was this giant amalgamation of. He had like 4 or 5 muskets like attached to his shoulder, and he would shoot guns at you and then have 7 arms or whatever and chase you around. I did not kill him, but very reminiscent of Elden Ring. So I think if you're a fan of Elden Ring, I think you would probably like this.
Yeah, that looked really neat. I couldn't tell. I wasn't 100% sure what they were going for, but I came away impressed.
Yeah, definitely Elden Ring inspired, which they admitted to while we were there. They said, yeah, definitely a huge inspiration was Elden Ring and Souls. Let's see. What else is on here? Chronos, the game. You and I have talked about this. Chronos, the New Dawn.
Yeah.
Comes out today.
Reviewing well on Steam, but you played it on a very different format, sounds like.
I did, yeah. So we were standing in line for this Chronos game. I said, oh, that looks cool, up on the opening nights live. They had the big guy in like the diver suit looking thing was standing up there. And I said, that looks cool. Let's go play that. So we're standing in line. Again, all these lines are at minimum, you're waiting an hour, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
And they come up and they said, we have 2 Nintendo Switches, Switch 2s for anybody that wants to play. Well, we should have taken that as a sign that 50 people in front of us said no. And I'm like, yeah, let's go play on the Switch 2. So we jump in and it shows you this like cutscene to kind of explain the story a little bit. So I guess the premise is, again, doesn't really tell you a whole lot, but there's these mutants or zombies or something, and something's possessing them. And when they die, their corpses are on the ground, and you have to decide what you're going to do with the corpses. You can either leave them there, or you burn them. Mm-hmm. If you leave them and another enemy kind of walks over the corpse, it like absorbs them and they gain the shield and hit way harder. But then to burn them, you only have like 2 charges to burn. So it's very much a survival horror game. Very limited resources.
Okay. My impression was that from the original trailer was it seemed more action based and less how do I put it? Less survivory, but it sounds like they're going for some of that.
Yeah, it was a lot of, oh, your gun only has 8 bullets. Like you better use them wisely. But the only way that I could find to like progress was to use all 8 bullets to like get through the enemy.
Yeah.
So there is some like crafting, like finding materials to craft more ammo or more of these flame charges to burn things. If you die, you reset kind of right away. So that's kind of Soulslike in that aspect. You don't lose any currency or anything, but you can get right back to where you were to progress. But gameplay on the Switch 2 was horrendous. It was like very, very, very low frame rates, and it was docked, which made it even more concerning. It was really glitchy, so it wasn't even just performance-wise, but like I would glitch into the wall and then can't get out of the wall, so I'm stuck in the wall and then die, and then I don't know. Like performance-wise, it was not very good.
Interesting. I kind of thought I don't know what I thought. I thought they would optimize the Switch 2 seems very capable of lots of visuals. You may have to cut back on something here and there, but it has been mostly impressive what it can do with either existing games or newer games, in particular things like, a powerhouse like Cyberpunk 2077 performs extremely good there. It's like, if it can do that, it should be able to do this, You're in the dark most of the time. I don't know.
I don't know if it was like an early build or what, but I guess not, because we only played it a couple weeks ago and it came out today. So it can't have been like too early. But yeah, performance wise was not fun. But watching other people playing on PC, it looked really pretty. The lighting that they had just from like fire and stuff looked really cool. The graphics were really nice. But just overall, the gameplay, not for me. Your character in this giant spacesuit thing moves like the slowest person that you've ever seen walking, and there's no sprint. So you're just like clonking around, super slow.
You were saying you're not much of a like Dead Space guy, right? You're not really into it.
No, I mean, somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't know. This was not it though. Whatever they were doing was not for me.
Okay.
But even Alex, who does really like kind of like the Resident Evils and Dead Spaces, who likes those kind of games, was like, yeah, no, this was not fun.
That's a bummer. I hope they optimize and figure out what to do on the Switch, but it seems to be ringing a bell with fans of the genre on Steam so far. So maybe that game's got some legs. We'll have to see.
Yeah. One other one I can talk about.
Sure.
They'd also had Gamescom, huge indie area, like really big indie area, which was cool.
That's great.
So the same people who made, was it Dome Keeper, a game that you really like?
Oh, I love Dome Keeper. Yeah. It's great.
So this studio had 6 or 7 games in their little booth. It was a small booth, but one that I really liked, it was called Monsters Are Coming Rock and Road, which is available on Steam right now. I think the demo is, but it's basically like a base defense, tower defense kind of vampire survivors like. So the premise of the game is you run around and you kill these monsters to level up your fortress, which is on wheels. So you kill the monsters, you collect the currency, you dump them into your fortress, and then upgrade your fortress by building on new rooms. So like one room can shoot out fireballs, another one can shoot out ice, and you keep upgrading your fortress and moving through the level as you defeat harder and harder waves of monsters.
That looked really cool.
I don't like tower defense games.
I don't either. You and I are the same on tower defense. I hate them.
Yeah, but this scratched an itch because it didn't feel tower defense because you're upgrading your tower in a different way, and you still have the ability to run around and like influence combat and go collect items and stuff. But that game was a lot of fun. That company puts out a lot of really cool games. Another one, I didn't play it a whole lot, but it's called Esoteric EBB. It's kind of like Baldur's Gate, but an indie game.
Oh, weird.
So yeah, it was like a very D&D inspired.
Strange name. Doesn't really, grab you, but I'm there.
Yeah, I don't know what the EBB stands for, but that was a lot of fun.
I'd play that. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty good lineup overall. And I know a few games or a lot of stuff they display there are just like stuff that's either already out or already massive, and it's a chance for people to get their hands on Call of Duty and the latest version of that and all that sort of stuff. So your typical con in those ways. But is it the kind of event that if you looking back on it, if you could, you'd go back?
I would. I think. Yeah, I would go back. It was a lot of fun just walking around. The people watching was very cool. Just everyone there was super nice. Seeing all these games, being able to play stuff that, sparked your interest, like World of Warcraft for me was a huge one. Genshin Impact had a presence there for Alex. So it kind of like hit anyone's interest. That we saw Call of Duty, that was there. Borderlands 4, that was there. We didn't play either of those. Path of Exile, like that was there. But yeah, it was kind of, if you have any interest in games, I'm sure that they had something there for you. Silksong was there.
Oh yeah. Out as of yesterday, I guess. No, two days ago, whatever it is. Yeah.
I think it just came out, but, lines to play that were insane. That was big news that came out. The release date came out from Gamescom. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. If given the opportunity to go back, I think I would, just being able to, and it wasn't even just only games either. Like Disney Plus had a booth. So they had like Alien Earth was really big right now. So they had an Alien Earth booth that you could go, and there was like this immersive experience that you would walk through with live actors and insane set pieces. All the Disney money.
I would have loved that. That's cool.
They had Netflix had a booth, and I thought it would be for Netflix gaming, but no, it was like a Stranger Things booth and a Wednesday booth, and just all their shows just had various booths there. So it kind of branched out from just games. The Chiquita Bananas had a booth, so you could walk up and get a free banana.
Sweet,
which was awesome.
A little potassium while you're out there getting all worked up and walking the con.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. You'd like turn the corner and not know what to expect, and then Alex would be, is that the Chiquita Banana booth? And you walk over there, and sure enough,
it's really funny.
Giant guy in a banana suit handing out bananas.
Wow.
All right. Well.
What else do you want at a giant video game convention? That makes sense to me. Well, this is great. I'm glad we got a chance to kind of catch up on it and see what's going on. Hopefully listeners will get a better idea of what things look like on the ground at Gamescom. And, it continues to be a massive deal, this event, and has been for a long time. It's not like it's more recently that way, but it feels like since E3 left, these things that have hung around or cropped up in its place are really important, given that most of the announcement stuff now happens on, individual channels. You have Microsoft doing their things and Nintendo doing their directs and Sony having their own thing. And, it's just a different landscape. So when it comes to like on the ground stuff, you have to rely on stuff like Gamescom. I'm really glad that one of our own got to go check it out. Glad you had a good time, man. Is there anything you want to mention to folks before we let you go?
If you play WoW with Midnight coming out, you want to join myself and a whole bunch of other core and instance listeners, you can. It's a core guild. You can find us at discord.gg/core guild. It's all lowercase, all one word. But
nice.
Pop on in there. We have, I think, 4 raid teams, maybe 5 to come up soon. Like, very active. A lot of people in there, always willing to help each other out.
Yeah, really good people too. These aren't raid teams where people are being jerks. They're like, hardcore about helping each other, and it's great. Really, really good people. And of course, Tanner in there, keeping it real. Well, thanks, man. I'm glad things went well for you, and may all your trips to Europe be filled with video games.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Yes. Get more at frogpants.com.